Let's look at creating a few different nodes and a few different things we can do with this, and then we'll make a very basic material. I'm just going to go up here and we're just going to save this. So let's do a file, save all, and it will ask me to save this material. So this is acting as a substance file, an SBS file. I'm just going to save this quickly. And let's call this save material. You can see that just saves that there. As I said, we can have different substances within here as well, so I can create more than one substance. I could have test material 1, 2, 3. We could have rocks, we could have pebbles, we could have stone, bricks, whatever we want. This is just showing us the outputs then, which I've already spoke about: base color, normal, roughness, metallic, height, and ambient occlusion, which we would have created in Substance Painter as well. So up here I've got a number of different options that we can use. The way that I prefer to get to stuff is down here in our library, or by pressing space. We have a series of things in here as well. So if I click this and we click U, I can go over to something like uniform color, which we've already got. So we can drag in another uniform color node. Okay. If I press space, we can have something like a blend, which we'll look at in a little bit, which is really useful for combining different nodes together. Okay, just grab that and press delete. So let's just kind of start out from maybe just linking something up. So I'm going to go into my uniform color. I'm just going to delete this, get rid of it. Let's press space. I'm going to just type in U or UN for uniform color. Let's bring this in. So if we want to connect nodes up, all we do is we just left click and drag out from this node into this node here. That's connected up. And then, as we've already looked at, we can click on this and we can change the color to wherever we want that to be. Okay. So we can do that kind of thing. I can also bring in a material as well. So let's just go down here and we have things like these generators. So in here we have a series of different ones. Let me just drag this out of the way. These are kind of like the grunges that you would get, or the procedural materials that you get in Substance Painter again. So let's just choose something like a checkerboard. Let's drag this in. So that's our checkerboard node. And again, what I can do is if I just delete this, we can have this and we can drag this in as well. And then we have this checkerboard material in there that we can use. Okay, so we can see that. So we can plug any of these into any of these. What I can also do is I can blend some of these things together. So let's say we have this one, and let's say we have something like, let's just use this black and white spots one. So these two different things. I can delete these wires by just clicking on them and pressing delete. We can also do this by going over and alt-clicking on the so the output there, or the input into this. So alt-click, and that will get rid of it. I can also drag these around as well. So if I press Control down, I can drag that into something else. So we can have this into multiple inputs. Or if I press Shift down, then we actually move it. So I move it from that one into another one. Okay. So Alt gets rid. Control will add another output to an input. And then Shift will just move the input to another input. Okay. So let's just get rid of that for now. So I'm going to use a node between these two. So if I want to blend two things, this is kind of the thing that you've got to get used to with nodes. We can't just, it's not like layers. So this is the first kind of stumbling block for a lot of people in Substance Designer. What we have to use instead is a blend node. So with a blend node, this is using a lot of compositing tools as well for visual effects. You have similar things. So we have what's called an A over B composite. So this is our A, this is our B. And then on this we have a foreground and background. So again, A and B. So what I can do is drag this one into the foreground. I can drag this one into the background. And then we can drag this output into the base color. So currently what's going to happen is it's going to show the foreground. So imagine this like layers in Substance Painter. or Photoshop if you're used to that. This is in the background. This is completely overriding this one. So what we can do in the blend node, you can click on this. And the first thing I've got is this opacity. So I can take the opacity down on this particular layer. So this is fading out the foreground. So you can see there, we're now seeing some of that background texture. Okay, so actually quite an interesting pattern already. Other things we can do with this is we can change what's called the blending mode. Again, you have this in Substance Painter. It's the way that the colors will be blended together based on a number of different factors. But really based around like the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows of an image. So let's say I wanted to see through maybe the black tiles on this and just make those transparent and see through to this particular texture. What we can do is go in and we can use something like let's add. Let's try this. Where are we? Subtract. So we're making part of that transparent, and then we're showing completely through to the underlying texture in here. Okay, can do that the sort of the opposite way around. So multiply. We'll do that the other way around. We're now showing through the lighter areas and keeping the darker areas of our scene or our texture. We can do something like an overlay, which is using some of the midtones in there to blend these two together. So you now see that we have some areas of the underlying texture on the black squares now and the white squares as well. So that's using the midtones of it. So one of the things you can do with this a lot of the time is play around with it. So often what I will do, if you wanted to create different effects, if I click on one, so add linear dodge is getting rid of the, it's kind of showing through the dark areas. So let me just go that. So if you imagine where the dark areas are there, add linear, you can see we're actually making those semi-transparent on that. But once I've got one, I can use my arrow keys and I can go through and try out different values. So I'm just using my open key arrow keys on the cursors just to go through and try different things out. Okay, back to copy again, where again we can change this. And then I can use a combination of both. So what we can do is, let's say add, and then we can do the opacity on that. So we can add a blend mode and we can also add the opacity as well. So this allows a lot of power when you're working in Substance Designer, and this is how we start layering things together. And we can make chains of these. So I could take these now. Let's say we want to add a bit of color into this. So I can just space, let's add a uniform color. So I'll press U, add that in there. Let's say we add a red. So again, to combine these, what I need to do is add a blend. So a quick way we can do this is I can select this line here, or this wire. Press space and let's do a blend node, and it actually plugs it in there. So let's plug that into the background. If I now plug this into the foreground. So one of the things here that we're getting is this issue, which again is another kind of stumbling block. Let me just go over to, in fact, I'm going to plug this a second, just so you can see what this is. So some of these nodes have different colors. So again, let me unplug this one as well, and let me unplug this one as well. So you can see they've both got like a, if you zoom in on this, this input has an orange and a grey input on that. So actually what that can accept is color information or grayscale information, one or the other. So here on this one we have color information from a normal map. Here with a uniform color and roughness, this would be a grayscale information. So actually that's set to grey there. So we're plugging that in. This one we could add color information on there as well. So or either color or grayscale information. But what's happening here down this chain is this is all grayscale information right now. So grayscale information going through here. These blended fine because this is two sets of grayscale information. This went in before, but now we're adding color information and grayscale information. So what we need to do is change this into color information to be able to blend those two together. So we can only blend color and color, or grayscale and grayscale. So let's have a look at another node. I'm going to just pull this out, click in here, I'm going to press space, and I'm going to use this gradient map. So I'm not going to do anything with this gradient map. All I'm using this for is to convert this grayscale information into color information. That's all that is doing. You may notice on these that actually, as I go over them, we have these this time in milliseconds as well. So this is how much time it would take to process all of these. You can use these substance graphs live. So in Unreal, and I think in Unity as well, there's a substance plugin, and you can have these live, and it actually can change the parameters of these things quite easily. And I'll go into changing parameters in a little bit. So having these higher values means that would slow down the processing. If you were just taking this out as exports, so you're exporting these textures as PNGs, then that wouldn't be an issue. It would just be the processing in your computer, basically, that you'd have to watch out for. So some of these are bigger than others. So you can see, just to blend information, this is 2.28 milliseconds. As we get more complex, we have something like this, which is 5.24 milliseconds, depending on the processing that it needs to do based down the chain. Okay. But now we've got these. You can see this one is no longer a dotted line. It's now a full kind of that yellow line. So that means that is now working. And again, I can go into this blend mode, and I could do something like just take the opacity down. Or we could play with the way that this is actually blending down those values. Okay. So I have something like that. So the other powerful thing about Substance Designer is that we can do this parameterization. We can change these values. So let's say this was a tile pattern, maybe it was a tiled floor, and I'd made this, and then I thought to myself, well, actually, I don't want the tiles, I don't want that many tiles. I may want the tiles bigger. So we can go right back to the beginning. So I'm just clicking on this checkerboard. I can come down here, and we can go into this parameter here for tiling, and I can start changing that property. So let's say we only want 4x4 tiles instead. There we have that. And notice that that has updated the whole chain right through to the end there. So that's really, really powerful for us to be able to do that. Okay. So let's just show another example of what we can do with this just on the normal maps. So right now, this is just showing this color information. It's very flat on there. Let's start bringing in some other information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this checkerboard map. I'm going to start plugging this into the other areas. So down here, I've got the height information. I'm just going to delete this. I'm going to drag out from this one. I'm going to put this into the height information. This isn't actually changing anything right now. I'm also going to take this value and I want to plug this into the ambient occlusion. But we need a specific node to be able to do that. So I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to press space. I'm going to start typing AO. And we have this ambient occlusion node. HBAO. So this will take a height map as the input and then change that into ambient occlusion data. So again, I'm going to go from this checkerboard, plug this into here, and then go from this output and plug this into here. Okay. We're still not showing any height information down here, and we just need to switch something on in this material to make this all work. So I'm going to go into materials, I'm going to go to default. And right now this is using this physically based metal roughness, which is brilliant. That's what we want by default. But what I need to do is just go into the edit button. So this is going to go into the information for this particular thing. And down here we have this height value, we have this scale. So what I need to do is I just need to bring this up, and that's going to start giving us this height information on there. So if I just zoom in on this, you can see that on there. That's starting to push out that and give that height information. Okay. So if we were to plug in that height map in something like Unreal, we would physically get that bumping out, giving that fake impression of this. What I'll also do is I'll also plug this into the normal map. So we've actually got the right node on that. I'm going to delete this and I'll make it myself. So let's just click on that, delete. Let's just press space and start typing in normal. And we have this normal node. So what this will do is it'll convert our grayscale information into a normal map. So let's take this one again, plug that into here. Let's plug this normal map into here. And it's not making a massive amount of difference because we've already got the height map on there. But when we start playing around with the normal map and doing more complex things, you will see that kind of changing. Okay. So you can see all of these things we can plug into different values. And again, the beauty of this is, because this is all relying on essentially these two nodes at the start, I can go back to any one of these and we can change these values. And that will change the entire chain down there. Okay, take that up. We can change that entire thing. So that's a basic look at just adding nodes. A couple of nodes that we've looked at here, including the blend node, some noise generators, uniform color, ambient occlusion, and the normal node as well, just to create a very basic pattern. And then just looking at the basic idea of parameterization, of being able to change parameters down the chain and those updating the entire chain as we go through it.